I slammed the door on my family screams that night, the kind of door slam that echoes like a gunshot in a quiet cul-de-sac, leaving behind the only home I'd ever known and the sister I'd bled for without a single thank you. 5 years of wiring rent money from my dead-end barista gig, scraping by on ramen and regret, all so she could chase her dreams in that overpriced Brooklyn walk-up. And the second I clawed my way into something real, a producer spot at CBS, they twisted the knife, calling me the villain for daring to breathe. But as I peeled out in my rust bucket Honda, tires screeching on wet asphalt, I wasn't running, I was reloading. Because the truth I'd buried deeper than their lies was about to blow the whole rotten foundation sky high. It started innocent enough. Or at least that's the lie we all told ourselves back in our cookie-cutter split level in suburban Ohio. The kind of place where American flags flap lazily from porches and everyone pretends the opioid crisis is just a Netflix special. I was 18, fresh out of high school with a partial scholarship to community college, dreaming of journalism like every other girl who'd binge-watched the newsroom too many times. My sister, Lila, 2 years older, the golden one with the cheerleader's smile and daddy's dimples, had already flunked out of her fancy state uni after one too many keggers and a string of bad boyfriends. She's finding herself, Mom would coo, while Dad nodded like it was gospel.
Me?
I was the reliable one, the fixer, the girl who alphabetized the spice rack and volunteered at the food bank because that's what good daughters do in the heartland. The betrayal hit like a sucker punch on a humid August night in 2020. The summer COVID turned the world into a ghost town and our garage into Lila's pity party lounge. She'd come crawling home from New York, tail between her legs after her modeling gig turned out to be waitressing tables at a dive bar where the tips barely covered her Ubers. Ellie, she sobbed into my shoulder, mascara running like black rivers down her cheeks. I can't go back. The city's eating me alive. I was 20 then, juggling online classes and a shift at the local Starbucks. But something in her eyes, desperation laced with that manipulative glint I'd ignored since we were kids, made me cave. Fine, I whispered, hugging her too tight. I'll help. Just this once. That once stretched into a noose. By September, she was back in Brooklyn, subletting a shoebox in Bushwick from some trust fund artist who'd ghosted her. Rent was $2,200 a month, a fortune on my $12 an hour wage. But I covered it with student loans I'd never planned to take and side hustles that left me collapsing into bed at 3 a.m. Mom and Dad? They sent care packages of Costco jerky and passive-aggressive texts, so proud of Lila for pursuing her passion. Wish we could do more. I bit my tongue, told myself it was temporary. That blood was thicker than the ink on my overdraft notices. Little did I know, the real bleed-out was just beginning. Lila's calls came like clockwork, whiny voicemails about auditions gone south, dates that ghosted, this struggle of being a starving artist in the Big Apple. You're my hero, Ellie, she'd purr, voice syrupy over the line. And I'd wire the money before the guilt could choke me. By year 2, it was routine, $26,400 funneled into her freedom while I deferred my dreams. Dropping out of college because who needs a degree when you're already paying for someone's life? Friends drifted away, calling me a doormat in hushed tones at holiday parties. Even my boyfriend, Jake Sweet, steady Jake with his flannel shirts and craft beer obsession, bailed after I canceled our 3rd anniversary trip to Niagara Falls. You're married to her shadow, Elle, he said, packing his duffel in our cramped apartment. I didn't fight it. Who had time for love when revenge was already simmering in my gut, unspoken and unacknowledged? But the secret, the one that turned support into shackles, was the theft that no one ever mentioned. It happened in the fall of 2021, during one of Lila's emergency visits home. She'd flown in unannounced, all wide-eyed innocence and designer knockoffs, begging for an extra grand because her agent was promising a big break. I was at work, pulling a double, when she sweet-talked her way into my room, my childhood sanctuary with its faded Taylor Swift posters and shoebox of savings. That shoebox held $8,000 I'd scraped together for my escape fund, journalism school deposit, first month's rent in D.C., the seed of a life that wasn't tethered to family obligation. She took it all, left a scribbled IOU on my pillow. Love you, sis. This is temporary. Hugs and kisses, Lila. I found out 2 days later, staring at the empty tin like it had been gutted by raccoons. Confronted her over FaceTime, her face pixelated and perfect. She crumbled into tears. It was an accident. Ellie, I panicked, rent was due. And I thought you'd understand. Understand? I'd been her ATM since puberty, covering her shoplifted lip gloss and faked sick days. But this was larceny wrapped in sisterly love. Mom and Dad, when I called them sobbing, sided with her in that seamless way families do when the prodigal's involved. She's your blood, Eleanor. People make mistakes. You'll get it back eventually. Eventually turned into never. She paid back $200 once, in Venmo pennies, with a winky emoji. I swallowed it, buried the police report I drafted but never filed, because in our house, we protected the fragile ones. The ones who shattered everything else. By year 3, the resentment had roots deep as Ohio clay. I'd clawed my way up to assistant manager at a bigger coffee chain, enough to keep the wires flowing. But my nights were spent doom-scrolling journalism job boards, fingers itching for a byline that wasn't Eleanor Rigby, local girl fun sister's faux bohemia. Lila, meanwhile, posted thirst traps on Instagram, her in sundresses on fire escapes. Captions like "Hustle and Heart NYC Artist," racking up likes from strangers who'd never know the half was financed by my sweat. One post gutted me, her arm around a slick-haired producer type at some rooftop soiree. Tagged networking wins. I screenshotted it, filed it away in a folder labeled fuel, because that's what it became, the spark for the storm I'd unleash. The turning point, the one that cracked the facade wide open, came in the spring of 2024. I'd applied on a whim to an entry-level producer gig at CBS News Chicago Bureau, cold email. Resume padded with freelance clips from a local rag I'd begged for. The interview was a blur. Zoom call with a no-nonsense editor named Marla, who grilled me on ethics and deadlines like I was en route to Watergate. Why now? Eleanor, you've got gaps in here bigger than the Grand Canyon. I stared into the camera, throat tight, and lied just enough. Life got in the way. But I'm ready to own the story, not just serve the coffee. She hired me on the spot. Start date in July. Salary that could finally bury the rent wires for good. Telling the family was supposed to be triumphant. We gathered for Mom's famous pot roast, Lila in from New York on a red-eye, Dad cracking open a Bud Light. The works. I waited until dessert, fork midway to my mouth, and dropped it. I got the job. CBS. Chicago. I'm moving next month. Silence. Then cheers, fake. Brittle cheers that shattered when the subtext hit. Chicago. Mom echoed, her fork clattering. But what about Lila's rent? She's got that gallery show coming up. She needs stability. Lila's eyes widened. All doe-like. But I caught the flicker. Calculation. not shock. Dad leaned back, arms crossed over his flannel gut. Eleanor's always been the strong one. She'll figure it out. Figure it out? I'd figured it out for half a decade, funneling $132,000 down her rabbit hole while they clapped for her growth. The argument erupted like a 4th of July finale gone wrong, plates slamming, voices rising over the sizzle of uneaten meat. Selfish, Mom spat, the word landing like a slap. After everything we've done for this family, you up and leave your sister high and dry? Lila chimed in, tears on cue. I knew it. You're abandoning me, just like everyone else. Dad sealed it. Blood doesn't bail when it's inconvenient. Eleanor, think about what that makes you. I left that night, not with a slam, but a whisper. What does it make you? The drive to my shitty motel was a haze of taillights and tears. But underneath, a cold clarity. The betrayal wasn't just financial, it was existential. They'd turned me into the villain in my own origin story, the scapegoat for their favoritism, the vault for secrets they'd all conspired to bury. And that shoebox money? It wasn't just cash, it was the down payment on a life stolen twice over. As the city lights of Cleveland blurred into possibility, I gripped the will tighter. Revenge wasn't a maybe anymore. It was the headline I'd produce myself. The first weeks in Chicago were a grind wrapped in glamour, the kind of hustle that makes you forget the scars until they itch at 2 a.m. My studio apartment in Wicker Park smelled like fresh paint and takeout Thai. A far cry from the mothball haze of home. But freedom has its price. Isolation sharper than any family dinner barb. CBS threw me into the deep end, fact-checking segments on election fraud whispers, cold-calling sources who'd hang up on junior producers. Marla became my reluctant mentor, a chain-smoking vet with a voice like gravel and eyes that saw through bullshit. You're green, Rigby. She'd growl over lukewarm coffee in the bullpen. But you've got that quiet rage. Channel it. Don't let it chew you. I channeled plenty, but not the kind she meant. Nights bled into days. My laptop glowing with tabs on investigative reporting, Spotlight, All the President's Men, the Woodward and Bernstein Bible. But woven through the research was my own dossier, digital breadcrumbs on Lila's life, pieced from social media scraps and public records I'd accessed with a borrowed library card. Turns out, her art career was thinner than her excuses, a string of unpaid internships at galleries that ghosted her, collaborations with influencers who paid in exposure, and a Patreon with 12 patrons, mostly pity follows from high school pity friends. The real kicker? That producer from her Instapic, one Victor Hale, mid-level suit at a boutique label, had a trail of lawsuits for creative accounting, aka screwing over and signed artists like my sister. She wasn't struggling. She was complicit, trading favors for FaceTime while I footed the bill. The secret I'd buried, the theft, resurfaced like a bad penny during a late-night scroll. I kept that IOU, yellowed and creased in my wallet like a talisman.
But now,
with distance, I saw it for what it was, forgery. Lila's handwriting. Sure. But the date? Backdated 2 weeks before she even visited. She'd planned it. Cased my room like a pro while Mom distracted me with girl talk in the kitchen. Rage boiled low and steady. Not the explosive kind, but the slow simmer that forges steel. I started digging deeper, cross-referencing her Venmo history, hacked via a forgotten shared family account, small sins for greater truths, with news clips on Brooklyn's underground art scene. Patterns emerged, late-night transfers to Hale, disguised as materials fees, coinciding with my rent wires. She wasn't just taking my money, she was laundering it through her network, buying credibility with cash that wasn't hers. Back home, the fallout festered. Texts from Mom. Lila's devastated. Can't even pay this month's rent. Your father says you're breaking us. Dad's voicemails. Gruff and guilt-tripping. We raised you better than this. Eleanor. Family first. Lila. Radio silence at first. Then a barrage of memes. Crying Jordan face. Sad puppy gifs, culminating in a voice note that twisted the knife. I guess the job was more important than us. Hope the Windy City wind blows the selfishness out of you. Selfishness. The word echoed like a curse, fueling my resolve. I wasn't selfish, I was starved, and they were the feast I'd unwittingly fed. Work provided the perfect cover or weapon, depending on the angle. Assigned to a segment on financial abuse in families, I pitched it as the hidden debt of sibling rivalry, drawing from anonymized personal anecdotes. Marla greenlit it, eyes narrowing. Make it sing. Rigby. But keep it clean, no vendettas.
Clean?
My version was a scalpel, interviewing survivors who'd bankrolled toxic kin, their stories mirroring mine in eerie harmony. One woman, a teacher from Detroit, choked up on camera. I paid her car, her wedding, her therapy, then she accused me of being controlling when I stopped. Family's just code for who you bleed for. I edited the piece myself, splicing in stats on intrafamily loans gone sour, the kind that trap the giver in perpetual penance. It aired to modest buzz, retweets from domestic abuse orgs, a nod from the Chicago Tribune, but for me, it was catharsis. The first public airing of my invisible wounds. Lila broke the ice with a surprise visit in October, showing up at my door unannounced, duffel in hand and eyes red-rimmed like a kicked dog. Chicago's autumn bite had turned the air crisp, leaves skittering like accusations across my stoop. Ellie, she launched in, breezing past me into the shoebox space. I had to see you. This city's killing me without you. I stood frozen in the doorway, Kieran digging into my palm. The scent of her vanilla perfume, a knockoff I'd bought her for Christmas, clogging my throat. She collapsed onto my futon, launching into the script, evictions looming. Hail ghosting. The art world, chewing her up. I need $3,000. Just a bridge. Then I'm good, swear on Mom. The old me would have caved. But the new Eleanor? I shut the door softly, leaned against it, and let the silence stretch. No, I said finally, voice steady as Lake Michigan wind. Her head snapped up, confusion morphing to offense.
What?
Ellie, come on, this is us. I laughed, a bitter bark that startled us both. Us? There is no us, Lila. There never was. You stole from me $8 grand, remember? And Mom and Dad? They called it a mistake. Her face crumpled. But I saw the tell, the micro-twitch at her jaw, the one she got when bluffing in Monopoly as kids. That was ages ago. I paid you back. $200 and I emoji don't count. I crossed my desk, pulled out the IOU, slapped it down like evidence in a deposition. She stared, then met my eyes, hers hardening into something feral. You're different now. The big job's gone to your head. Dad was right, you're selfish. Turning your back on family for some corporate ladder. The word again. Weaponized. But this time it glanced off. I leaned in, voice low. Selfish would have been pressing charges. Or telling the world what you really are. Her laugh was forced, high and brittle. What I am. The one who followed her dreams while you played maid? Face it, Ellie, you're jealous. Always have been. Jealous. The accusation hung, twisting the room into a pressure cooker. We devolved into shouts, her defending her hustle, me cataloging the ledgers of loss, until neighbors banged on the wall. And she stormed out, slamming the door I'd once wielded like a guillotine. Alone, heart pounding, I sank to the floor, the fight's adrenaline crashing into clarity. This wasn't closure, it was ignition. Hale's name echoed in my mind, a loose thread begging to be pulled. If Lila was tangled in his web, maybe unraveling it would drag her down too, or expose the whole family's complicity. Ethics be damned. This was my story now. And CBS was the megaphone. As November's gray skies pressed down, I dove headfirst into the rabbit hole. Posing as a freelance journalist, easy with a VPN and burner email, I cold-called Hale's associates, fishing for dirt under the guise of an art scene exposé. Whispers trickled back, unpaid royalties, coerced NDAs, a pattern of predation dressed as mentorship. One ex-assistant, bitter and buzzed on a late-night line from LA, spilled. Victor's got skeletons, offshore accounts, fake invoices. And that Bushwick girl, Lila something? She was in deep, funneling cash she didn't have. Thought she was his golden ticket till he cut her loose. Golden ticket. My blood ran cold. That cash? Mine. The pieces slotted. Lila's fees weren't art supplies. They were bribes. Laundering my rent money through Hale's slush fund to buy her way into shows that never materialized. Worse, a deeper scan, public filings from Ohio courts, revealed the family's secret I'd long suspected but never voiced. Dad's construction business? It had tanked in 2019, buried under debts from bad loans and a gambling habit he'd hidden behind fantasy football bets. Mom's yard sale money, siphoned from my grandparents' life insurance, funneled to keep the lights on. And Lila? She'd known. Confessed in a drunken text chain from 2022, Dad's drowning. Ellie. We all are. Your help keeps the wolves away. Wolves. They'd made me the shepherd, sacrificing my fleece to guard their den. The realization hit during a brutal windstorm, power flickering in my apartment as thunder rattled the windows. I paced, phone in hand, dialing a contact Marla had slipped me, a PI with ties to network investigations. Off the books, she'd warned, but if it's gold, it's yours. By dawn, I had prelims, Hale's LLC linked to shell companies. One tracing back to a P.O. box in Cleveland, Dad's old buddy from the VFW, the one who'd invested in his failing firm. Lila wasn't the victim. She was the conduit, shuttling family desperation through New York like a mule. The tension coiled tighter, a spring ready to snap. Work ramped up, holiday news cycle madness. Me churning scripts on corporate greed while plotting my own coup. Lila's texts turned venomous. You're dead to us if you don't send the money. Mom's calls. Weepy please, come home for Thanksgiving. We miss you. Dad's silence spoke volumes. I ghosted them all, channeling the isolation into fuel. The antagonist wasn't one person. It was the hydra of favoritism,
Lies.
and larceny they'd all fed. Lila flipped faces like outfits, victim one day, viper the next, while Mom and Dad played the moral high ground. Their decisions a litany of controversial cuts, prioritizing her potential over my stability, excusing theft as growing pains, guilting the giver into giver's remorse. By December, the plan crystallized: expose Hale on air, let the dominoes fall. It'd be framed as public interest, art world exploitation, financial predation, but the subtext? A laser on Lila's complicity. The family's rot. Controversial? Hell yes. Marla would fight me. Sources would dry up. But the split it'd cause, readers cheering the takedown or decrying family betrayal, that was the point. No heroes. Just humans clawing for air. As snow blanketed Chicago, I typed the pitch, the cost of dreams, when ambition devours the innocent. Innocent.
A lie.
But a good one. The revenge was scripted, and curtain was rising. Christmas came and went in a blur of fluorescent-lit newsroom marathons and microwave burritos. The holiday cheer mocking me from every corner, tinsel-draped cubicles. Secret Santa swaps I dodged like landmines. Chicago's winter gripped the city in an icy fist, wind howling off the lake like the ghosts of grudges past. But inside my head, the storm was biblical. The pitch to Marla landed like a grenade in our morning huddle, the bullpen humming with pre-shift caffeine jitters. It's timely, I argued. Slides clicking through blurred redacted docs, Hale's filings, anonymized transfers, victim testimonials scrubbed of names. Art world's booming post-pandemic. But the underbelly's rotten. Predators like this guy prey on dreamers. Bleed 'em dry. She stubbed out her cigarette in a styrofoam cup, eyes like lasers over the rim of her mug. Solid angle. Rigby. But who's the hook? We can't air vague somethings. Give me blood. Not breadcrumbs.
Blood.
If only she knew how literal that plea rang. I swallowed, the weight of the unshared truth pressing like a stone. Personal tie, I hedged. Off record. A friend got burned, money funneled through this snake. Family kept quiet to save face. Marla's brow arched, but she nodded. Green light for prelims. But if it smells like vendetta, you're off. We report truth. Not therapy. Truth. The word mocked me as I hunkered down in the archives. Microfiche ghosts and digital deep dives blurring into a revenge fugue. Hale's empire unraveled like cheap thread, a 2022 SEC whisper on his consulting fees, a 2023 Variety blind item on shady label deals, and buried in Ohio probate records, a lien on Dad's house from an unpaid investor. The same VFW pal Hale's shell had funneled through. Lila was the linchpin. Her Venmo trail a neon sign, $15,000 in 2023 alone. Time-stamped to my rent wires. Labeled Art Collab Advance. She'd flipped from victim to vector. Then back again in her latest Insta story, a tearful selfie in a coffee shop. Caption: Betrayal hurts worst from family. Surviving. Surviving. The irony curdled my gut as I drafted the script, voiceover narration dripping with controlled fury, in the glittering facade of New York's creative scene. Ambition comes at a cost, often paid by those closest. Clipside begged from ex-associates, shaky cam of Hale at galas. Arm candy artists looking hollow-eyed. My hook? An interview with a composite Jane Doe, me. Voice modulated. Face shadowed, detailing the sibling siphon, how love becomes leverage in fractured families. Controversial from jump. Was it empowerment or exploitation? Did exposing one man's sins indict a system? Or just settle a score? The family barrage intensified. A digital siege that chipped at my resolve. Mom's emails. Novella-length missives blending scripture quotes with sob stories. Proverbs 17 verse 17. A friend loves at all times. And a sister is born for a difficult time. Lila's time is now. Eleanor. Don't let success blind you to duty.
Duty.
The word reeked of chains. Dad broke his silence with a single text, proud of the job. But blood's thicker. Send what you can. Lila? She escalated to carrier pigeon, actual mail. A manila envelope postmarked Brooklyn, stuffed with Polaroids from our childhood, us in pigtails at Disney, gap-toothed grins over stolen cookies.
Tucked inside.
A note in her loopy script. Remember who we were? Don't make me the bad guy in your big shot story. We can fix this. $5,000 and we're square. Love always. Love always. The lie landed like acid, burning through the nostalgia. I burned the photos in my sink that night. The acrid smoke curling like accusations. Flames dancing shadows on the walls. Fix this? The only fix was excision, cutting the cancer before it metastasized further. But doubt crept in. A whisper in the dark. Was I the monster now? Weaponizing my platform against flesh and blood? CBS's code of ethics loomed in my mind. Impartiality. Verification. Harm minimization. Exposing Hale could torch Lila collaterally, drag Dad's debts into the light, leave Mom collateral in the crossfire. No clean wins, just varying shades of wreckage. That's what made it tense. The pull of American ambition, the dream of justice clashing with the nightmare of fallout. Marla pulled me aside post-holiday. The newsroom a ghost town of deflated balloons and half-eaten gingerbread. Your prelims check out. Hale's got form.
All right.
But the family angle? It's too raw. Rigby. Feels personal. My pulse thrummed. Fight or flight kicking in.
It is.
But that's the point. It's universal. How many viewers have bled for kin without a byline? She studied me, smoke wreathing her like a halo of hard-won wisdom.
All right.
Pilot it soft, focus on Hale. Blur the rest. Airdate February sweeps. Nail it. And you're golden. Botch it. And you're back to traffic reports. Golden. The irony twisted as I prepped. Sourcing a whistleblower. Ex-assistant Claire. Mid-30s firebrand with a grudge and a green screen setup in Queens. Her Zoom call was gold, detailed Hale's MO. Charm offensive. Then contract traps. Artists owing souls for exposure. Your sister's name came up, she said off mic. Eyes sharp. Lila Rigby? Yeah. She was fish food sent cash upstream. Thought it'd buy her in. Hale laughed her out when the well dried. Fish food. My jaw clenched. Lila hadn't just taken. She'd tithed to the beast. Flipping loyalty for ladder rungs. The antagonist's cunning shone through in countermeasures. Hale caught wind. Lawyered up. His rep blasting cease and desist to low-level inboxes. Including mine. Lila's next move? A midnight call. Voice slurred on wine or worse. Heard you're digging.
Ellie.
Victor's pissed, says it'll ruin me. You gonna be the sister who tanks everything? Accusation laced with plea. Her flip seamless, from beggar to blackmailer. Tell him to lawyer up harder. I shot back. Ice in my veins. Or better, tell the truth for once.
Click.
Silence. Then, the real gut punch, a group chat revival. Mom forwarding Dad's hospital bill, gallstones. $4,000 out of pocket captioned, "This is what your independence costs us." Guilt. That old familiar blade. Sliced deep. Was this revenge or reckoning? The decisions piled up. Each more controversial. Greenlight Claire's interview despite her axe-grinding bias? Leak a teaser to page 6 for buzz. Risking ethics flags? As January thawed into slush. The tension peaked. Rehearsals in empty studios. My narration echoing hollow. When does support become sabotage? Lila's final gambit arrived via doorstep. Her. Soaked and shivering. Eyes wild. Don't air it.
Ellie. Please.
It's not just me. Mom's fragile. Dad's one bad month from foreclosure. We're all we've got. All we've got. The plea hung, fracturing my certainty. I let her in. Brewed tea we didn't drink. The room thick with unsaid sins. She spun her web. Hale's coercion. Family desperation. My jealousy, poisoning the well. You're not the villain, she whispered. Hand on mine. But this makes you one. For a heartbeat, I wavered. The pull of blood. The American myth of redemption. Then, the twist in my gut, the IOU, peeking from my wallet like a dare. You made me the fixer, I said, pulling away. But I'm done being the fall guy. She left at dawn. Door clicking soft as a promise broken. Sweepstakes loomed. The climax barreling like a freight train. No turning back. The split was inevitable. Viewers pitted against the ethics of exposure. Family torn between loyalty and lies. My revenge wasn't destruction, it was daylight. Harsh and unforgiving. As the red light blinked on set, script in hand, I breathed deep. Showtime. The studio lights burned like interrogation lamps. Sweat beading under my collar despite the AC's Arctic blast. The countdown to air a heartbeat in my ears. 10, 9,
8.
Claire's face filled the monitor. Composed but crackling with contained fury. Her voice steady over the uplink from New York. Victor Hale didn't just take our money, he took our trust. Our time. Our talent. Turned dreams into debts we couldn't repay. Cut to me in voiceover. Words I'd scripted and fevered all nights. In the cutthroat world of indie art. One man's empire was built on the backs of the broke and the blind loyalty of family. The segment unspooled like a thriller reel, graphics flashing Hale's shell companies. Blurred bank statements tracing phantom funds. Testimonials from shadows who echoed my unspoken rage. It aired at 8:47 p.m.
CST?
Sandwiched between a weather update on the next polar vortex and a teaser for the Iowa caucuses. I watched from the control booth. Marla's hand heavy on my shoulder. The room a hum of monitors and murmured approvals. Ratings ticked up, modest at first, then spiking as East Coast feeds hit. Socials igniting like dry tinder. Hale takedown trended by 9:15. X ablaze with hot takes. Finally, someone's calling out the art grifters. Versus, this reeks of sour grapes, which hunt much. The split was surgical. Readers cleaved down the middle. No clear villain. Just a mosaic of moral grays that sparked barroom debates and therapy session deep dives. Backlash hit like aftershocks. Hale's statement dropped at midnight. Polished PR spin via his mouthpiece. Baseless allegations from disgruntled ex-employees. We stand by our artists and await vindication. Vindication. The words stuck as I fielded Marla's postmortems. Her cigarillo smoke curling like congratulations. You nailed it. Rigby, views are through the roof. Higher-ups buzzing. But tread light. The family's gonna come calling. Prophetic.
That.
My phone exploded at 6 a.m., 47 missed calls. Voicemails stacking like indictments. Mom first. Voice shattered. Eleanor Jane Rigby. What have you done? Lila's hysterical, says it's all lies. That you twisted everything to hurt us. Hurt us. The inversion galled. But Lila's message cut deeper. A video. Timestamped 3:42 a.m. Her face gaunt under bathroom fluorescence. Tears carving tracks through smudged makeup. You aired it. You fucking aired it. Victor's suing. The gallery dropped me. And now, Everyone's looking at me like I'm the thief. Mom had a panic attack. Dad's talking bankruptcy. This is your revenge? For what? Some rent money. You're no sister. You're a saboteur. Saboteur. The accusation landed, forcing a mirror gaze. Had I gone too far? The segment hadn't named her. Claire's sibling siphon was vague. The transfers redacted, but the dots connected for anyone who'd ever whispered our last name. Controversy brewed. As intended, defenders hailed me as whistleblower. Detractors branded me betrayer. The gray zone thick with but what-ifs. Work became a tightrope. CBS brass summoned me for a closed door with legal, crisp suits in a glass-walled conference room overlooking the Loop. Their questions probing like dental tools. No direct libel, the lead counsel intoned, flipping pages. But the implications dicey. Family ties undisclosed, conflict of interest. I met his gaze. Pulse steady. Personal experience informed the angle. But verifications ironclad. Public interest trumps private pain. They bought it. For now, patted my back with a bonus check and a warning. One more whiff of agenda, and you're sidelined.
Sidelined.
The threat echoed Dad's old coaching rants. But this time, I held the playbook. The antagonist's counterstrike was vintage Lila, misdirection laced with manipulation. She lawyered up via a pro bono arts collective, firing off a cease and desist to the network that named me explicitly, defamatory portrayal endangering familial bonds and professional reputation. Professional. The gall. After years of my bankrolling her facade. But the real flip came in a Daily Mail exclusive 2 days post-air. Art World victim speaks. My sister's CBS hit piece destroyed our family. Her photo, wide-eyed, windswept on a Brooklyn pier, paired with quotes that twisted like barbed wire. Eleanor always resented my dreams. She paid the rent out of spite, then flipped when I succeeded. This exposé? It's her way of pulling me down. Spite. Success. Lies so bold they bordered on performance art. The piece went viral, painting me as the envious everyman sibling, the American archetype of resentment run amok. Comment sections erupted. Classic, jealous sis tanks the talented one. Family first clashing with sounds like the victim was mooching. Good riddance. The tension peaked in my inbox. Hate mail from her pity posse. Fan letters from strangers who'd bled similar. You gave voice to my silence. Thank you. No unanimity. Just the delicious divide. Readers arguing ethics over eggnog. The stories you am heart-pulsing in every thread. Mom's intervention arrived midweek. A Greyhound bus ticket and a plea. Come home. We need to talk, really talk. I boarded against better judgment, the Midwest blurring past in a haze of regret, arriving in Ohio under a slate sky that wept sleet. The house felt smaller, shabbier peeling siding. Dad's truck on blocks in the drive like a beached whale. They waited in the kitchen. A tribunal of 3. Mom at the table. Bible open like armor. Dad by the sink. Fists clenched. Lilo on the stairs. Arms crossed. Chin high. No pot roast this time, just coffee gone cold and accusations brewing. You ruined us, Dad started. Voice gravel over the hum of the fridge. Hale's sharks are circling, says Will O if the suit sticks.
You're doing.
Eleanor. Mom chimed, tears magnifying her readers. We protected you girls, shielded the mistakes so you could grow. Protected. The word detonated my silence. Mistakes? Lila stole from me. $8,000. Dad's debts. Your secrets. I carried it all. And you called me selfish for stopping. Lila snorted, descending like a queen to the fray. Stole? You offered. Always the martyr. Ellie playing victim to feel big. That segment? It wasn't truth. It was your ego on prime time. Ego. The flip was masterful. Her from prey to prosecutor. Miri cast as the power-hungry hack. We circled. Words as weapons. Her defending the loans as survival. Mom invoking God and guilt. Dad dropping the bomb. A yellowed letter from the bank. Foreclosure notice dated pre-my first wire. We were sinking before you helped, he admitted. Eyes down. Lila's New York move? Hail Mary to flip it. Art sales that never came. You kept us afloat. Afloat. The revelation cracked something foundational. My support hadn't just enabled her, it had masked their mutual mendacity. A family con where I was unwitting mark. The argument crested in shouts, plates rattling, sleet lashing windows, ending in a standoff. Me at the door. Them pleading in chorus. Stay, Mom begged. Fix this like family.
Fix.
But as I drove back to Chicago, wipers slapping rhythm. The twist nod. What if they were right? My revenge had spotlit Hale, his assets frozen by dawn raids. Resignation leaked by noon. But the collateral? Lila's blackballed. Mom's blood pressure spiking. Dad's pride pulverized. No pure victory. Just Pyrrhic echoes. Yet in the rear view, a spark. The story wasn't over. Hale's suit would drag their dirt into depositions. Truths unearthed in open court. The debate raged on, hero or heel, and I was center stage. Script flipped. February thawed into a muddy March. Chicago's streets pocked with potholes like the craters in my conscience. But the momentum was mine, a freight train of fallout barreling toward collision. Hale's lawsuit hit federal court. A spectacle that turned my quiet producer gig into a sideshow, subpoenas slapping my desk. Reporters sniffing at my stoop like hounds on a scent. CBS's legal team armored up. But the briefings were brutal, hours in sterile conference rooms, dissecting my script for implied malice, every siphon and predator, parsed like scripture. You're clean, lead counsel assured. Ty Askew. But the family angle? That's the landmine. Discovery will dredge it all. Motive. Means the works. Motive. The word haunted as I prepped for deposition. Nights blurring into caffeine-fueled war rooms where ethics clashed with expediency. Marla coached me off books. Her office a fog of menthols and mantras. Stick to facts. Rigby. Your sister's the wild card. Hale's banking on her sob story to humanize him. Humanize. The irony. As Lila's PR pivot painted her as the collateral casualty, op-eds in the cut on sibling rivalry in the spotlight, podcasts dissecting the cost of cutting ties. She flipped again from defendant to darling. Interviews laced with forgiveness that shivved me subtle. Ellie's brilliant, but success isolated her. I pray we heal.
Heal.
The plea rang hollow against the mounting evidence, forensic accountants tracing her transfers to Hale's slush. Dad's VFW pal flipping state's witness for immunity. The secret I'd half-suspected crystallized in leaked filings. Lila hadn't just laundered. She'd forged my signature on a family loan agreement, backdated to legitimize the shoebox heist. Forgery. Felony territory. The kind that turned her mistake into malice aforethought. Mom's text turned frantic. Lila scared. Says jail if it goes south. Your father's heart. Heart. The guilt gnawed. But so did the truth. Their protection had been a pyramid of perjury. Me the base bearing the weight. The deposition was a pressure cooker. Hale's shark in a Brioni suit, grilling me under fluorescent glare. MS. Rigby. Isn't it true this expose stemmed from a personal grudge? Your sister's rent. Your resentment. Text messages show you raging. Texts. The ones I'd fired off in weak moments. Buried in family chains. I leaned into the mic. Voice even. Resentment? Try restitution. The segment exposed systemic abuse. Hales? Yes. But enabled by family fictions. Public interest demands light. Mr. Ellis. He smirked, flipping to exhibits. Lila's tearful affidavit, claiming coercion. My jealousy as catalyst. The room spun. Antagonists multiplying. Hale the grifter. Lila the chameleon. Parents the enablers. Each decision a Rorschach of right and wrong. Public fractured further. The split a national pastime. Watercooler wars. Reddit rants. Even a Vanity Fair profile dubbing it the Rigby Reckoning, when family feuds go prime time. Defenders lionized me. Whistleblower with wounds. Not which, while critics crucified, trauma porn disguised as journalism. Blood money for clicks. The controversy peaked at a court hearing. Gallery packed with gawkers and gadflies. Cameras flashing like paparazzi strobes. I testified in a skirt suit that felt like chain mail. Recounting the siphon sans names. Support became servitude. Money wired in love. Repaid in lies. Lila followed. A vision in victim chic soft sweater. A quivering lip. Her testimony a masterclass in flips. My sister and I shared everything once. But ambition changes people. Victor? He preyed on my naivety. But Eleanor's exposé preyed on our pain.
Pain.
The word weaponized the gallery. Murmurs rippling. Was she gaslit or gaming? Hale took the stand last. Slick as ever. A smear by a sibling scorned. My artists thrive. No predations. Just partnerships. Partnerships. The lie crumbled under cross. Emails surfacing mid-exam. Lila's pleas for more advance. My rent timestamps glaring. Objections flew. Judge's gavel cracking like thunder. But the damage bloomed. Hale's facade fracturing. Jury eyes narrowing. The climax crashed post-hearing. A maelstrom in the courthouse lobby, reporters swarming. Lila cornered by mics. Me slipping out a side door only to collide with family. Mom. Frail in her church coat. Clutched Dad's arm. He. Ashen and averted. Eleanor, she whispered. Voice a rasp. End this. For us.
End.
But Lila exploded through the scrum. Eyes wild. You win. Okay? Victor's folding. Settling to bury it.
But you?
You buried us. Folding. The twist hit like a gut punch. Hale's plea deal. Leaked hours later. Restitution to victims. No jail. Gag order on details. No full exposure. Just a quiet cough-up that left the rod intact.
When?
The words soured as I drove to the lakefront that night. Waves churning under sodium lamps. The city's pulse mocking my hollow victory. The segment won a local Emmy nod, vindication in velvet envelopes. But the cost? Lila vanished to a wellness retreat, Mom's health teetering. Dad's silence a shroud. I'd pushed for daylight. But shadows lingered. The revenge a mirror revealing my own flips, from fixer to destroyer. Love to ledger. No happy coda. Just by kitsch ambiguity, justice served cold. Family fractured forever. Yet in the twist's afterglow, a spark, an email from Claire. Now freelancing. Your story opened doors for me, for others. Hale's done. But the conversation? Eternal. Eternal. Debate fodder for dinner tables. The gray no one's fully right or wrong. I closed my laptop, stared at the horizon where water met sky. and exhaled. The hook had sunk deep. Line taut, but the fish? It was me, reeling in the catch of consequence. Blood's thicker than ink, they say, but ink endures. And in America's endless rewrite, that's the real revenge.